The story of Aladdin is a Middle Eastern folktale about a poor young man who finds a genie in a lamp who can grant wishes, which Disney adapted into a very popular animated film in 1992, and now we're getting a live-action remake because money! That's why. The remake is directed by Guy Ritchie, who looks like Conor McGregor's little brother. That's right, the dude known for UK gangster comedies has moved on to fantasy films. I'm a big Will Smith fan, but even I was skeptical when I heard he was going to play the genie.
How come you don't want me, man?
Nah, Holmes, chill. You did about as good as anybody could have possibly done given your situation. Smith did a decent job, but it's impossible to touch the original animated portrayal of the genie by Robin Williams because the role was literally created specifically for Williams. In fact, Disney wanted Williams so bad that in order to get him, they lied about not relying on his star power to market the film, and they tried to sabotage his prior commitment to playing Batty in the film Fern Gully.
It's Mickey Mouse, mate, and it's worth fuck all.
For the most part, Smith did a pretty good job, and the CGI wasn't as bad as I was expecting. I was even okay with Mina Masood's portrayal of Aladdin, despite a few cringy moments, and aside from some of his dancing. Overall though, the Bollywood-style dance scene was still a really great idea. Visually, the film looks good in terms of costumes and set pieces, but there are some issues that become really obvious if you watch both versions back to back. When you make a direct shot-for-shot comparison, you can see that much of the soul of the original is missing, because it's hard to transfer certain visual ideas into live action. The main problems I have with this film are that they unnecessarily removed a lot of elements that were present in the original, and they changed many characters for the worse. Marwan Kenzari was miscast as Jafar because he simply isn't anywhere near as sinister or intimidating as he needs to be. Classic Jafar was voiced brilliantly by Jonathan Freeman and animated to look like a menacing older man, not like a pretty boy. After Jafar was announced, I remember seeing a lot of red flags where I would see these articles by garbage outlets like BuzzFeed that completely missed the whole point. Also, for those of you who have seen the original, you know that Jafar goes through a very specific change, and all I can say is that by the end of the film, the new Jafar looked laughably bad, and I think Jafar is the worst part of this whole film. Actually, his parrot Iago was treated even worse. What was originally a very comedic role voiced by the iconic Gilbert Gottfried was stripped down to basically nothing. The parrot barely has any personality, and I can't even remember if Jafar ever even calls him Iago, because near the end he just calls him the parrot, which perfectly illustrates how badly this character was mistreated. The director claimed an expressive parrot wouldn't look right, but this is a fantasy world, and after seeing Detective Pikachu, I beg to differ. They also ruined the Sultan because in the original he's jolly and funny and gullible, but in the remake he's just a boring old man. Now Jasmine is where things get complicated. The actress Naomi Scott did a wonderful job. She can sing, she's gorgeous, I like her a lot, and it was nice that she had a handmaid to work off of played by Nasim Pedrad because it adds some new dimensions to the film. However, out of all the aspects of Jasmine's character that they could have expanded upon, it's very telling that they chose to amplify her oppressed woman's status.
I am not a prize to be won.
The original Aladdin had guys who would apologize and fall over themselves to meet Jasmine's demands, but now they forced a narrative where suddenly she's being silenced. Aw geez, the mean men won't let Jasmine have opinions. It was sad because this forced narrative directly ruins her father, the Sultan's character.
I just want to make sure you're taken care of.
The extra effort instead could have been used for something else like fixing Iago, or world building, or anything other than acting as though Jasmine has to struggle for the chance to be a leader.
Maybe I don't want to be a princess anymore.
Which, as a princess, would have happened eventually anyway. Ultimately, it's not that big a deal, and considering how hard Hollywood and the mainstream likes to virtual signal, it could have been way worse. Overall, the Aladdin remake is an unnecessary film that nobody really asked for, but a lot of work went into making it at least somewhat enjoyable, mostly thanks to Will Smith in his human form. This version is about a half hour longer than the original, but the elements they added always seem to come at the expense of some of what made the original great. I'm giving Aladdin 6 out of 10 really messed up wishes that break Genie's rules.
Can you kill anybody?
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
For anyone thinking I'm exaggerating about the media trying to force the woke, oppressed female narrative, Quentin Tarantino, the guy who's extremely famous for writing strong female characters, was recently targeted by a wannabe journalist who wanted to frame him as a sexist, even as he calmly responded with,
"Well, I just reject your hypotheses."
They still had to lie and act like he somehow, quote-unquote, snapped at her. Look at Margot Robbie's face. Even she's enjoying how Tarantino just owned this wannabe reporter on her bullshit.
Accept an award for diversity in the workplace. Go fuck yourself, you dumb bitch. You dumb fucking bitch! You stupid bitch!